Right, there's a lot of pre-building work required. They've had to put the door frames up, which is taking quite a long time to get them in place and secured. So we've got all the door frames in now. What they're doing here is they're forming the CPAC beam, the reinforced concrete beam. So they're creating a lattice of reinforcement on top of the wall, which is about halfway up, and then approximately 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres of CPAC will be poured once they've got the boxing on. They've been preparing their boxing from these pieces of plywood that Suntory has gone out and bought today. So you can see the principle here. The boxing is going to be held in place by a piece of steel bent to the appropriate size, which is effectively sprung loaded. It's very effective. So they're starting to form these sections now before they build any more walls, because they will need to pour the concrete for some of the walls today and let it go off overnight, and then they can use the boxing again on the second day. So in between they'll be doing the walls that they've yet to do, one there and the 2-bedroom walls and the bathroom. Right, I think we're on day 4 of these chaps working on the walls. So we've got some high level work going on now above the freshly made beam. And the first job they did this morning was to get another couple of, well, 3 actually, 3 more beams in place. The living room one, the kitchen one, and the 2nd bedroom one. Oh, let me show you these. So they've got the door frames up and they've hammered nails in at an angle, and that's going to be what's holding the door frame to the block work, because they're building the block work up to the door frame. And as you can see here, the nails disappear into the mortar, and that'll basically keep it in place for its life. I think sometimes people fit the door frames afterwards, and they gap fill and they screw into the block work, but not these guys. These are doing it the other way around. Fair enough, it's not a problem. Now, I was talking previously about the difficulty of getting the levels right for this plot. What we did yesterday was we started to flatten out the ground here relative to the post pads, which works really from about here onwards in that direction, and it's going to work alongside the driveway, so there'll be sufficient height on the driveway for us to place stones onto the dirt and retain the stones. But it doesn't work very well at the back here. The wall, part of this retaining wall, is lower than the pad. Only just, but it's just annoying because it's part of it is just low, which means we're going to get low spots for water drainage. And you can see after the storm last night how we've got a patch of we had a flood here basically last night collecting water, and you can see that's where it's draining down, and that actually corresponds with the hole in the wall where the drainage pipe for the showers goes, which we did block up. It was a massive hole that they cut through, and consequently when it rained the water was washing the sand through the hole and away. We were just going to have a constant subsidence problem in this corner. So yesterday we stuffed some CPAC in that hole to stop the flow of the sand coming out. Now I imagine that water's still able to get out a little bit, which is not a bad thing, and hopefully the ground level itself won't go down very much more. That's gone down very slightly from my work yesterday. Anyway, along here, this wall is not too bad. This retaining wall level is not too bad. We can probably work with that, and just make sure the ground level is slightly below it before we put stones on top. And that, just my eyesight tells me that wall there is fine relative to this pad. It all starts to go wrong along here, along this edge, and I've got to take some levels. I think it's wrong right from the start. Just looking at it, it looks like it's a couple of centimetres too low here, and I need to take some levels from that pad and from this pad here, and again it looks like it's probably more because there's quite a bit of soil on this, on top of this retaining wall top here. And I did actually take a level. Suntaray and I worked out the levels yesterday from this pad here, and unbelievably the wall, the retaining wall, is 3 of these red blocks below the pad. So I've said we can't just dig out the soil from here and have a slope coming down, because all the soil will eventually find its way to this side anyway, because it's sand basically. So it's all going to get washed across, which is not what we want. And the other problem is, the more soil we take away from here, the more risk there is that the soil that's actually infilling in the house will come out. It's not going to get wet and it's not going to wash out, but the natural forces of gravity and bugs and ants burrowing into it and that sort of thing will gradually erode it, and it will come out of the edges if we take our soil level too low. We really need the soil level to be at least the same height as the bottom of the infill, the bottom of the CPAC ring beam. So what I've said to Suntaray is we need to find our levels along here, and then we actually do need to make an infill of concrete along this wall, a proper job of raising that retaining wall up. It doesn't have to be reinforced, it literally just has to be wood shuttering put along there and a load of concrete poured inside it, so that we can actually get our sand and our soil level correct from the top there right the way down to this corner, and hopefully stop water getting to this outside wall, which you can see is suffering again from the wet, suffering a lot. So that's another job which is going to have to be done, and as far as I'm concerned, it needs to be done sooner rather than later. The trouble is, our main labour are these two guys here, and they're obviously not going to stop until they've done the basic wall work, and they can't go any further until the electrician's here. So, but nevertheless, we can start preparing it.